personal finance nerds just like love to talk about the Mega Backdoor Roth and how amazing it is. And that is a great, great option. They call it Mega because it's big.
Welcome to the Physician Sense Podcast, a podcast designed specifically for physicians, offering a breakdown of complex financial topics to help you develop your financial IQ, further your financial journey, and improve your well-being. Whether you're a medical student, resident, fellow, or attending physician, you're sure to learn something new that will benefit your journey. And now, your hosts, Chad Chubb and Tyler Olson.
Welcome to another episode of the Physician Sense Podcast. I am your co-host, Chad Chubb. I am joined by my financial brother from another mother, Tyler Olson. Tyler, I love when you go change and you just come back with a different shade of a t-shirt. It's my favorite part of the YouTube portion of our videos. I thought of that line before we went live too. And that's why I said I'm not good at the exciting topic.
Well played. And as for my shirts, I like to do things the same, just a different shade. Otherwise, I spend too much time in indecision.
Similar though, I know I have a lot of bright shirts, but the good news is I just have like a lot of bright shirts. I just go in, pick out a few. My wife actually makes fun of me because usually what I'll do because I'll bring up a few t-shirts up to the office or my shirts for when we're on our recording days, but I'll go into our recordings to see what shirts I wore because I don't want to wear them too close. Like that's the only downside of bright patterns. Like once you wear it recently, you can't wear it again quickly again because people are like, oh, dude, definitely. Like I remember that pattern. It's so obnoxious. Like I remember it. So I'm with you though in theory. I am. Another bold topic, a mega topic, a mega floral t-shirt topic, the Mega Backdoor Roth. A crowd favorite. This might set the bar. This might set the ratings high bar for us here. I don't know. What do you want to start with in turn? I don't want to jump right into the fun. When I say that term, what comes to mind for you?
I think of all the online forums where the personal finance nerds just like love to talk about the Mega Backdoor Roth and how amazing it is and all the rules and everything. That's the first thought that comes to my mind. I mean, it's a great opportunity for saving. So I'm not trying to dog it or anything. I think it's great. It's like one of those topics that personal finance nerds love to nerd out on because they're like, oh, it's amazing. $70,000 in after-tax Roth growth. This is amazing. And it's not amazing. I just think that it eventually it gets a little like, okay, let's just implement it and then move on with our life.
It's actually amazing how well that content can do, only because if you don't have 1099 income and you're just W-2, the odds of you actually being able to pull this off are still somewhat rare. Getting more popular, but not commonplace, right? You know, if I had 10 new clients walk in the door, I'd be pumped if 2 or 3 of them have access to it. Or I should say 10 households, we'll call it. So not super common, but I think the excitement of $70,000 into a Roth, which we also will add some context to, because if you're a high-earning physician, you might not want $70,000 going into all Roth dollars, but we'll get to that. All right, so let's, again, try to keep some agenda to this because you and I have been known to go on our own rants. High level, what is the Mega Backdoor Roth?
So the Mega Backdoor Roth is an opportunity to get more money into your 401k plan than the typical $23,500 employee contribution. There are some plan level stipulations that are necessary in order to get access to this Mega Backdoor Roth strategy. But the concept is it's based on the fact that total contributions to a 401k plan account for 2025 is $70,000. Most people think of $23,500 because that is the under age 50 maximum contribution that an employee can make into a 401k plan. And frankly, most 401k plans are not outfitted for anything more than that. But when an employer makes a matching contribution, or if they make a profit sharing contribution to an employee's account, those numbers get added on top of the 23,500. And here's a scenario. If this is something I see with some private practices that actually it makes it so they couldn't even do the Mega Backdoor Roth even if they wanted to. The employer makes such a substantial contribution, it's part of their compensation package, where like a vascular surgeon is base is 450, and they just say we're gonna just totally max out your 401k, and the most that they could do is 70,000. So they'll do whatever, 15% or something based on that income, or less than that actually. But in any case, the idea is that usually there's a gap between what has been contributed and 70,000. And that difference, that gap, is the opportunity to get money in and potentially get it in and into a Roth tax-free growing, tax-free distribution trajectory.
Well said. Yeah, I love it. Makes sense to me. I'm not the important one, though. The audience is. Really good points in there. The one thing, too, if you contact HR and you get super excited about this, remember also to be careful with how much after-tax contributions you add before your employer has topped out your account. We have actually seen some pre-working with us where they put in a large after-tax contribution, and we're sitting there doing the math and we're like, where's the match? Where's the profit share? And they contact HR and they actually filled up that bucket too fast that then HR did not put the funds in there because it would have put them over 70,000. I'm using 70,000 in today's dollars. So that is actually one of our common pitfalls we see. I don't want to say quite a bit, but it can happen. I did some math while you were talking. So let's just say $70,000. That's the max, right?
Mm-hmm.
You nailed it. You put in 23,500. Just for easy math for me, I said, well, what if you get $10,500 total between a match and a profit share? Just some easy math here. Now, this is a big one, but you would have a chance in this example to put in $36,000 into after-tax contributions. In a perfect world, you can then convert those over to a Roth IRA or Roth 401k. Ideally, we're going into a Roth IRA. So the opportunity in that example is $36,000. That was a pretty big example, but I will say, if you're not in a private practice where they're just cranking money into there, it can be that appealing. It can be that appealing, pretty common, where it's a large number in there. To build on Tyler's point of what is it, and why would you do this? Remember, it's you've used up all your pre-tax dollars. Let's assume that you're currently or soon to be a high income physician. For the most part, I think you would agree with me here, Tyler. Like if you're in those higher tax brackets, you want to use up all the pre-tax dollars that you can. But the beauty of this bonus bucket is that you're not wasting any pre-tax dollars. So it's really just a bonus savings account that if all things go according to plan, you can then also get into your Roth. And it's from savings that, you would not have done elsewise. So that's the big win. I'd love to get your thoughts on this too, Tyler. I still get excited for even after-tax options. Let's just say that they don't have the conversion option. I still will tell our clients, depending on their situation, that I enjoy the after-tax because at some point down the line, you're still getting tax-deferred growth while it's in there. So when you're putting all this money into the after-tax contributions, you're still investing, you're still getting growth on it. And then at separation of service, you're still going to have that opportunity to get money into the Roth. Now, the only downside to this idea is the gains. So let's just say you got in $50,000 of after-tax contributions and you got another $20,000 of gains. The $20,000 of gains is still pre-tax money. That can't go to your Roth. But the $50,000 of contributions can actually go right into your Roth IRA at separation of service. So we still do like after-tax, can depend on the circumstances. But if we use that same scenario and you were able to, let's just say, convert it every time you made a contribution, you were able to convert it to your Roth. Now that entire $50,000 of contributions and $20,000 of gains all goes to a Roth IRA. That's the beauty of the quick conversion in there. And some plans make it easier than others. I know we have some plans that will automate it as soon as they make the contribution, moves it right to the Roth. We have one physician where pretty much annually they let her do it. I think we've even seen some weekly in there too, but just want to add a little bit more context to it. But if the stars align, it can be special.
I mean, especially if you're in a situation where your income allows you to have a lot of excess savings that are building up in your checking or would otherwise be going into your taxable brokerage account. I mean, I agree with the contrast between. Well, let me back up. I guess here's a question, because I'm not entirely sold on the idea that the after-tax portion only option is inherently a good idea in comparison to tax efficient taxable brokerage account investing. I might be splitting hairs here, but I think about long-term capital gain taxes on low or zero dividend paying stocks, where that growth, depending on how you structure your early retirement income strategy or retirement income strategy, there could be some opportunity there to like have a really low payment, or a really low tax payment on the sale of those stocks in a taxable brokerage account, versus with the after-tax account, that's essentially like an annuity. I immediately think of a non-qualified variable annuity, where it's gonna grows internally, but then distributions all taxable at your income tax rate. So I think there is some play there.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we can make a rule here. Definitely not. But I just think it's worth a conversation to contrast a taxable brokerage account strategy versus if there is only an after-tax option, and not the conversion to Roth option.
Yeah. I mean, the liquidity win certainly goes to the brokerage account. I like that comparison. And I think the main win with the after tax would be that eventually you would get a large lump sum into a Roth, right? That's the main win. But you're still in a retirement plan, right? It's still locked up. You still got to follow those rules. So that would be the main downside of that strategy. I'm sure someone has done that, but that would be a fun little, I feel like that should be like a Kitch's blog at some point. Like,
or maybe he already has. We could look it up.
He probably does. He probably wrote it like 15 years ago too, because he's that far ahead of the time in terms of topics. But I do see what you're going with there.
Yeah. Now, Mega Backdoor Roth functionality aside, what if you got someone that is like entirely solo? Like they're, they have their own practice, they're 1099, or like they're, they got a company but it's just them. And so they've got a solo 401k.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, have you been able to help clients get the Mega Backdoor Roth going on their own?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, we do that with quite a few. One fun play that we do again, these are kind of like you're kind of picking out. It's like social media. You only put your best pictures up. But like we have a cool scenario where we have a client doing Mega Backdoor Roth with their solo K, but they have so much 1099 income that we also then set up defined benefit cash balance plan. So we're still getting a lot of good pre-tax savings and then still cranking away the Roth. And I think the client also has to buy into the idea of like for example, the one client I'm thinking of right now, like they are very adamant that they want a lot of Roth assets. They just think where we are currently and then where we're headed, they're very, even in a high tax bracket today, they're saying like, this only gets a lot worse. So they're very pro Roth. A lot of times, I'll go back to the example I said before. We'll kind of always take the 23,500 is pre-tax, and then whatever we can do, we'll set that up on the back or the Mega Backdoor Roth, which is a good point, because one of the questions we get quite a bit is, and you probably see this as well, especially with like new prospects, is, hey, I'm trying to do this on my Fidelity cookie cutter plan. Why can't I do it? And a lot of the places that have like cookie cutter solo K plans, they won't allow you to do all this. You probably have to add a little customization to it. So that can also be somewhat of a pain in the butt. to get that all set up. I know Vanguard moved theirs over to a census, but I don't believe you could do it with theirs before they moved it over to a census.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but I do know that Carry does facilitate Mega Backdoor Roth
Okay.
through their Solo K product. So Carry, CARRY.com. I have not personally used it, so I don't have any feedback on, customer service, usability, or anything like that. But I have heard other advisors speak well of their platform. So that might be something to consider. But yeah, usually when we're in that realm, I'm thinking of a client of my own who is in we've got a few that are in the cash balance plan 401k tandem thing. And I have a conversation with the plan actuary every year, and that's going to be coming up this fall. And I want to talk to him about the dynamic of if we want to increase that, like to facilitate after-tax conversion to Roth, how will that affect cash balance plan contributions? Is it all like fits together? So I'm looking forward to that conversation because I want to see what that looks like and give him some good options.
And if you have 1099 income, you pretty much can guarantee yourself a solo K. If you don't have 1099 income and you're W-2 and you're thinking, this sounds pretty cool, how do I do it? I always give these two questions. So you got to contact HR and you have to ask these two questions. Does it allow after-tax contributions? That's half the battle. The next half the battle is this. Does it permit in-service distributions or rollovers to a Roth, ideally your Roth IRA? You need yeses on both of those for the Mega Backdoor Roth to work. So copy and paste those two, send them over to HR. I feel like this has also got more popular, that it's getting more, like it's listed in more HR, open enrollment packets that, hey, we now have after tax and it has a Mega Backdoor or it has a Roth IRA conversion. Usually does not say Mega Backdoor. But remember too, the other question we get quite a bit is, oh, I have Roth. I thought that was after tax. I'm like, no, you have pre-tax, you have Roth, and then you have a separate island called after tax. It needs to be after tax, which is different than Roth. It is different. I know that can be confusing. You can blame the current, I don't even know who we blame for that one. Blame someone, but not us. But those are the two questions that you need yeses for both of those. If you get a yes only on number one, you then have to do the math that Tyler and I were just talking about on after tax versus brokerage. If you get yeses on both of those, you got a shot. You can do some math here and see if you can make it work.
Yeah. And if you have access to it and you've got the cash flow to do it, man, rock and roll. That is a great, great option. So they call it Mega because it's big. I want to redirect to that Nintendo video game. Was it called Mega Man? Never mind. I
don't know. I wasn't a big video gamer. I played like NHL games, and then there was a period of time in high school where I think it was Gears of War was like super popular. So we'd get home from school and like everyone would get on. I just remember that. But besides that, I probably wasn't good at video games. I had one other. Oh, I know what it was. If you are solo K and you have really good 1099 income, kind of a fun little thing too. If you're married, you can also, and your spouse is actually helping you with work. Remember, you might be able to get a bonus Mega Backdoor Roth with your spouse. So that kind of a unique little caveat mixed in there as well. But I didn't want you to miss that one because that's a good one. How do we implement this? So I got yeses on both of those, Tyler. Now what do I do? On my two HR questions, they gave me two yeses. What do I do next?
Mm-hmm. Well, then I need to you need to factor it into the grand plan. You got to look at like we've been talking about, do you have the cash flow to do this? Because it's substantial. Like if you're going to, let's say that there, just for the example's sake, there's no employee contribution or employer contribution, I should say.
Yep.
Theoretically, you have the opportunity to get an additional $46,500 on a Roth basis into the 401k. Very cool, but you're going to have taxes taken out of a number that's larger than that like depending on your tax bracket, like let's just say, for example's sake, that you're at 28%. And in that case, you're going to have to part ways with $64,000 pre-tax. And over the course of 12 months, you're looking at a reduction of $5,300 from your gross paycheck. Like, so that's going to cost you quite a bit. Now, if you're a physician who's making $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 a month, that's what I'm talking about with these scenarios where it's like, well, we've got lots of extra money that's just coming in. What do we do with it? This could work. But that's a close estimate to what the monthly cost would be if you were going to fill that entire gap with your own salary. $5,300 a month of pre-tax of your salary. So, if you're pulling in 25,000 and that's going to bring you down to 19, that's still a big percentage. Like, depends on the whole cash flow plan. So you got to look at your big plan. You got to see like what's feasible and what is the point of doing this. Going, really ramming that in for, retirement planning can be really beneficial, of course, because if you got a huge portion of your retirement assets in Roth money, that creates a lot of optionality when it comes to retirement income planning. But it's got to work on the front end with your life expenses, your short-term goals. You can't just be living for a Roth rich life at 65 or whatever, so you just got to put it in context.
And we have not said this. We probably assumed that it was assumed. Remember, you don't have to max it out. So for some of you, you might say, it'd be cool to get an extra 5-10 grand into my Roth every year. So keep that in mind. You don't have to max it out. Another thing I was just thinking of, I'm thinking like academic medicine, a lot of those plans have safety mechanisms that you can't over contribute. I will say, if you're at a smaller employer, we sometimes will label these like prototype 401k plans where it's like almost like on a brokerage platform, but it's a 401k plan. There's no metrics in place to stop. So if you go over any of these numbers, there might not be anything that stops it, and then you got to fix it. So anytime you're doing more unique planning, just always double check your numbers, verify with HR. And then the other one I noted on here is just roll it over as soon as possible. You want to get it to Roth. If you're doing this strategy, you want to get it to Roth as soon as possible because you want the gains to be on the Roth side. That's the key there. But if you get yeses on those two questions for HR, or you have a solo K, it's something to think about for sure.
Yeah.
Especially because again, you're not wasting any pre-tax dollars. So it's really just a bonus possibility to get more money into retirement account, ideally into a Roth. But it can be a nice win. Very popular topic, whether it's from the socials or not. Like I said, most like academic physicians, maybe a 50-50 chance of you even having this, maybe less than that. Private practice, it depends. But 1099 income, you can do this. You still want to do the math, right? If you're like, oh, I have an extra $10,000 of 1099 income, fantastic. But it's probably going to cost you a few bucks also to get this all set up. So just make sure you're also crunching the numbers per se, that it's actually worth it year in and year out before you go customize a 401k plan to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it anything?
No, I think it's a good summation. So yeah, if any of y'all have any questions about this process, send me a message, send us an email, and we'll happy to clarify anything. It's a more niche topic, but a really cool opportunity.
Maybe if we get enough questions on this, we can find a cool expert to bring on too and ask all sorts of nerdy stuff too.
Yes, that is a great idea.
Always thinking.
Yeah, I love it. All right, man. Yeah, let's do that.
We need questions though, right? So if you're listening, you're watching, drop us the questions. And if they're so intense, we will find an expert, just like we always do. We always find cool experts. So we'll wait for your questions.
We will. Thanks for listening.
All right, Tyler. I'll catch you on the next one, my friend.
All right. See you, Chad.
This information is for general purposes only. This information is not intended to be a substitute for specific professional financial or tax advice, as individual concerns vary. Please see a financial professional, CPA, and/or an attorney in regards to your own individual situation. Wealth Heals Advisory Services and Financial Planning offered through Vicus Capital Inc., a federally registered investment advisor. Olson Consulting LLC, offering advisory services and financial planning, is a state-registered investment advisor.